Good morning. Our hand today is going to be pocket nines. In this hand, we have an early position player open raises at 2.5. It folds around to me. This is a 10 NL full ring game. This guy's playing 22-14. Stats look to be pretty decent. Mid position goes up a little bit, but I think with the sample sizes, 4 out of 14, if you make that 3 out of 13, it's going to drop the percentage, going to put it more in line with the general increasing trend as position improves. So I think this guy's raising maybe something decent. Something like yesterday's player, some pocket pairs, suited broadways, big offsuit broadways, maybe some ace like ace 4, ace 5. He is a winning player. He's got 17 hands over about 100. He's got 3-bet range. You can see the 3-bet range includes ace 4 suited, so I think that's a suitable pre-flop raising range. It's on me versus early position. 3-better call range looks something like this. I did call. I think that's fine. Nobody behind us is super loose. We could obviously raise 3-bet with the nines, but sometimes we want to take this hand to a flop and hopefully try to make more money than what we'll make just by raising. Because if we raise, villain's going to probably fold out of position a lot of these offsuit hands. Probably like ace 4, ace 5. These suited connectors, probably a lot of these weaker pocket pairs. So if he continues, he's only really continuing super strong. And here, we've got a decent hand. We can go up against some of these hands, some of these off pair hands or offsuit hands, and the lower pair hands. Just try to. I think there's other situations with maybe like a Jack 9 suited where we could 3-bet and we don't mind him folding as much because, hey, our hand isn't going to be very good going to the flop. So we called, and then the button calls. Button's playing 22-10. We do have a lot of notes on him, so we've got over 1,000 hands. His button, he plays 26%. 3-bet stat is 5%. He calls 2-bet 16% of the time. So I think with him, we're looking at least queens plus ace queen suited ace king as his 3-betting range. And then I'm looking at something maybe like this where he's calling speculative hands, pocket pair suited, connector suited aces. So it's 3-way. Flop comes 9-7-3, hits us, but it puts up a flush on the board. At this point, we just have to be a little bit careful because we don't really want to get into a betting war here. We're 100 big blinds deep. That's overall versus the button where our effective stack's 186. We don't want to get, we don't want to raise and then get 4-bet, or we don't want to bet and get 3-bet and then find ourselves like all in with trips against maybe a flush, a made flush, or maybe the flush draw. I think we're too deep to kind of play hands like that. So villain 5 checks. We're going to say villain 5. We're going to give him about 50% chance that he has this flush, that he's slow playing it. I think sets probably check. I think all these overpairs probably check. So we're looking at, I'm not sure if he would bet anything here on this board. His c-bet stat, 50%. That's out of position, I believe. 50% out of position. So I think he's probably checking most of it, 100% of his range, minus the 50% of the flush. I do think flush could be betting here. I think a lot of times players will check this and then bet the turn in the river if they don't have the flush. So now it's on me. What do? He showed weakness. We wouldn't mind building a pot here. I do think we bet our flush. I think we bet our flush. I think we bet our sets too. I think we bet our overpair. I don't think we're betting our pocket pair below the top card. I think we could bet. Well, we don't really have any of these flush draws. We do have some weak flush draws, so maybe we could bet those just kind of as a bluff because they're unders, but not all of them because we have over cards, over pairs. So I think we're gonna change this to not having those, as we're not betting those. We're gonna check those unless we have the spade. Maybe the gut shot. Let's see here. I kind of prefer a bet. If we get raised, we're calling. No, let's see here. Goes against what we're saying. So if we were going to bet, we could bet, 4.5 or 5. We bet about half pot. If we get raised to 15, we call, then it's 30, 40 big blinds. And someone could easily bet 40 big blinds on the turn if the spade misses. We could find ourselves all in. So I take that back. Maybe I think we're also going to be checking all of our hands here, just to keep the pot, really to keep the pot smaller. We don't want to build it too early. So let's say we check it with everything. Villain bets here. He's the last guy to bet. So let's say he's going to bet all of his pairs, all of his top pair plus middle pair. Yeah, we'll give him the middle pairs as well. A pocket pair less than middle pairs. And then we're going to give him the flush draws, nut and second nuts. And maybe open-ended straight draws, maybe the gut shots as well. I think is a bluff. So let's say he bets 40%. Villain 5 folds, so I'm guessing he's got something down in this area. No made hands, no draws. So now for us, it's too good for us. I don't think we're going to call with eights. I think we call with overpair sets, flushes. I mean, we could call with eights if we have. Yeah, we could call with eights if we have the 8 of spades. And we can always kind of plan it so if we call here and he checks the turn, we could always lead the river. Yeah, we've got that. It's a gut shot with the Jack 10. I don't think I'm calling with a gut shot. I think the gut shot had to be part of a flush draw. And we already have, we wouldn't have offsuit. So I think that's what we're going for. Turns of 4 hearts. Once we checked, we're going to check 100% of our range again to him. And he bets, so he bet, if we go back to the flop on his bet sizing, it was about half pot, a little less than half pot. Now he's sized up to 12, which is about 2/3 pot. Is he still going to continue betting with the flush? Yeah. I think he's probably consistent with all of those flushes. If he's putting me on a flush draw, I think he continues betting with the straight, continues betting with the set. Probably continues with the overpair, top pair. Not sure if he continues with any of the draws. He could. Maybe he has those as well, those middle pairs, because it was favorable. I mean, is he really going to put me on a 9? I think at this point he's putting me on a flush. So if he bets, now we're calling again with overpair plus. I don't think we're calling with the 8s anymore. I think we can call with a weak flush, but even then, if we call with a flush, I'm just not sure our 8 of spades is going to be good. So if we call with the 8 of spades and we catch a spades, are we really that good? We're getting 29% pot odds. We need 29% equity. I just don't think the 8s are worth it. Overpair, yeah, I think on a non-spade, we're probably checking it again. He's going to probably check down with most of his hands here. So I think the overpair's got some showdown value. 6 hits, so no flush. Well, I mean, there's a flush draw out there, but no 4-card flush, no 4 cards straight. I think we check 100% with the idea that if he bets, we're going to call with our flush. And I think we have to call with our flush. And I think we're going to probably fold sets and overpair. Sets are suck to fold, but I think if he fires a 3rd time, I think he's firing the flush. I think he's checking straights, sets. I think he's checking all, although he's gonna fire with the flush. So that's why I said I think for us we're just calling with the flush, check calling with the flush. He checks behind. At that point, I don't think he has a flush. So we're looking at all of these hands that he could possibly have in his range. We beat a lot of them with our set. And he shows 3s. He shows a set of 3s. So it was definitely in his range. We had it. He could have bet again on the river. He would have gotten a fold, and I would have folded out the best hand. We could argue whether or not it's a good fold. I know popular YouTuber would say I never fold with a set, which in this case it would work out, but this is 10 NL. I don't think you usually see a whole lot of guys fire 3 barrels in it and on a board like this without having that flush. So we're going to take a note on this player. So he had 3s. So he call EP RFI 2.5 big blind from button with 3 diamonds, 3 hearts, 3-way in position. He bet 50%, bet 66%, and then check on a 9 of spades, 7 of spades, 3 of spades, 4 hearts, 6 clubs. All right, so that's a hand. I think we did as best we could. I think it would have been awful for us to bet. Yeah, as I worked it out, given the hands, we bet the flop, he raises. We would probably be forced to call. And then on the turn, when he bets big, I would feel like I'd have no choice but to fold at that point. And I'd give up my equity on trip 9s, and that would be a mistake. So at least here, we kind of, by check calling, we guard against building that massive pot and having to fold, in a big pot like that. And this is, might not be GTO, but it's playing against the 10 NL players who are unlikely to bluff. All right, so hopefully you enjoy this, and if you do, look tomorrow for another.